know the reason why Pelosi won't budge on PPP. That is the information we want to pass on in tonight's preamble. Yesterday on CNN, Pelosi was surprisingly grilled by Wolf Blitzer on her intransigence on Americans getting some of their money back from government in the form of a stimulus payment. Remember, millions have been cast into the indignity of unemployment. The China virus is being used as an excuse. The president has offered $1.8 trillion in a new relief package, yet Pelosi still won't budge.
Even members of your own caucus, Madam Speaker, want to accept this deal. $1.8 trillion. Congressman Ro Khanna, for example. But let me just quote Ro Khanna, a man you know well. I assume you admire him. He's a Democrat. And he just said this. He said, people in need can't wait until February. $1.8 trillion is significant and more than twice the Obama stimulus. Make a deal. Put the ball in McConnell court. So what do you say to Ro Khanna?
What I say to you is, I don't know why you're always an apologist, and many of your colleagues apologists for the Republican position. Ro Khanna, that's nice. That isn't what we're going to do, and nobody's waiting till February. I want this very much now, because people need help now. But it's no use giving them a false thing just because the president wants to put a check with his name on it in the mail.
Did you catch that? The reason why you are all being made to suffer is because Madam Pelosi, in an election year, doesn't want President Trump to get any credit for making the relief bill happen. Now, there are some of you lefties out there who would sacrifice the well-being of your children and your family just to harm President Trump. Thankfully, those sick people represent a small fraction of the American population. Unfortunately, the Speaker of the House is one such individual, but her family won't be suffering. Your family will be suffering. Pelosi is using your misery to advance non-China virus-related spending. She wants to bail out poorly run liberal states and cities with billions of dollars with no accountability on how that money is spent. Pelosi wants to give school districts $225 billion, but only $5 billion, or just 2%, would go to making schools safer by improving air quality or installing sinks and other hygiene upgrades. The rest would be a payoff to the unions. But this money does come with strings. If school districts economize and reduce per pupil spending or change labor contracts in any way, they'd automatically be ineligible for that stimulus funding. Pelosi's bill would rewrite election law for 2020, barring voter ID requirements, forcing states to count absentee ballots that arrive as late as 10 days after Election Day, and impose same-day voter registration everywhere. Billions of dollars in Pelosi's bill don't even address the China virus. Who would do this to you, me, and our fellow Americans? A political party without a conscience. That's who. Pelosi, just like the Democrat socialist candidate for president, Beijing Biden, is a fake Catholic. Because she and Biden are not practicing Catholics, that's why they can, propose and perpetrate such inhuman and underhanded policies. But truth tellers are making the case against these Catholics in name only. It is now beyond dispute that practicing Christians and Jews can't be practicing Democrats. At anticatholicticket.com, Father Edward Meeks lays out one of the 5 reasons why Biden and his entire party are antithetical to the faithful in America.
Joe Biden is unabashedly pro-abortion. This fact is clear from his long voting record, his public pronouncements, his allegiance to and support of groups like Planned Parenthood and NARAL, and from his party's platform not only in this election year, but in their platform going back decades. He and they support abortion for any reason or for no reason, right up to and even beyond the moment of birth. He and they opposed the effort in Congress to pass legislation requiring doctors who perform abortions to provide medical care to babies who survive the abortion, opting rather to let such babies simply die outside the womb with no care. The Democratic Party has become the party of death, and Catholic Joe Biden is their standard bearer.
Now, if you want to hear more of his points, check out Father Meeks at anticatholicticket.com. I know what you're all saying out there. How can this happen? How can Americans elect people who are so clearly devoid of humanity, so clearly devoid of conscience? Gain. Well, the 40th president of the United States knew who these kind of people were when he spoke at the ecumenical breakfast in Dallas, Texas in 1984.
Without God, there is no virtue because there's no prompting of the conscience. Without God, we're mired in the material, that flat world that tells us only what the senses perceive. Without God, there is a coarsening of the society. And without God, democracy will not and cannot long endure.
Democrat socialists belittle and besmirch God and those who follow him because, frankly, God is in their way. People of conscience do not do what Democrat socialists do. So that begs only two questions. Do you have a conscience? And if so, will you allow yourself to vote for a party that doesn't?
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.